see me in the show, and the rest is history, as they say. So, but that was it. I was in that for a couple of years. That was the big one. That was really one that suddenly started things. You know, for an actress, it would be great. Agents could come and see you, or PR people, or other producers, directors, and things like that. And then, of course, I ended up getting married and moving. So all that momentum of getting to be known, and then I moved to America.
So one of the things I'm a bit curious about, because we had your husband on, I think, not long after he took over as the president of Washington College, and Dick Gelfman interviewed, and he was talking about his experience, I guess, working in the Bush administration at the time, and working a lot in the Middle East, and just talking about all of the security things that involved being in the diplomatic corps. And that, can you talk about that experience as being the spouse of someone?
Well,
that
actually,
kind of work?
I would say that in a way, when Mitchell was at the State Department in charge of policy planning, working for Secretary Powell, who is a man I absolutely adore. I have such tremendous respect for him. It was difficult. It was very difficult in a way. It was high points and low points. We stayed in Williamsburg with the children. We have two children, a son Matthew, a daughter Michael, and they were quite young at the time. And we had hoped that he would be able to come home at weekends, but really it doesn't work that way when you're traveling and when you're working at the State Department. So it was tough on the children, but I would try and go up to see him in Washington. I could always pretty much tell if I was on the phone and he sort of read something that was pretty disturbing or something that was pretty depressing. I could tell, and I'd try and cheer him up or do so. You know, as a spouse, I got to enjoy parties and some traveling. Not always. They didn't always let me travel with him, depending on where he was going. When he was negotiating for the peace process with Northern Ireland, I did travel, which was wonderful. I have my grandparents on my mother's side, my father's side, sorry, were from Dublin, so it was really nice to go back there and try and find family history and stuff. But security was, it was a little difficult. I mean, I realized that Mitchell had worked in government maybe a little too long when our daughter, who was, I think, 10 at the time, had gone to a summer camp, and she wanted to find a friend, and she said to her father, she said, "Dad, can't you just call the ops center and find out who this person is?" Well, the operations center is who Mitchell would go through if he wanted to contact world leaders. I mean, they have access to all phone numbers, etc. Well, when your 10-year-old daughter is asking, you know, she feels that that's normal to ask to find a phone number for a friend through the ops center in Washington. Then you think, okay, she's getting to pick up the lingo and that sort of stuff, and maybe he needs to come home a little more. But it was difficult. There were times, definitely, although the toughest time, I think, for me was when he was negotiating with the North Koreans. I could not phone him. I didn't have access to communicate with him. I had to go via the government, and that was tough. That I did not like that. Young children, and you can't communicate with your husband. And
you ever fear for his safety?
Yes, definitely. Not necessarily in North Korea, believe it or not, because I felt that he was being followed by somebody, and that person was being followed by somebody, and I'm sure there were about 3 people following each other, you know. So when he was writing his book, his first book, and he was going places that I was a little nervous about, that he was meeting with people to get information. I was sort of nervous about that. But when we were in Northern Ireland, it wasn't bad. I mean, I felt very safe. It wasn't. It was other countries that I felt a little nervous about.
So I guess it was a relief when he took over as president of Washington College, right?
I loved it. I was very much for this. I could not wait. It was, it meant that we could all be together, although our son had gone to college at that point. Our daughter was a sophomore going into a junior year. So for a 16-year-old girl, that's tough to move, but she was great about it. So it was okay. But absolutely, I have loved this job. I think I sound like a broken record in a way. I really do. As I said, I enjoy the students. There's always something to do. I mean, we went to the basketball game last night. The women's team won. Yay, go Whack. We have some great teams. I love it when I see sort of the community at the games and supporting the college. I think that's great. I think we absolutely go together. We need each other. There is a combination there. And so it's great to see locals there at the game. But yeah, we like to do things like that. And I'll try and sit in on a lecture if it's interesting. If something interests me, you get to do that. There's great plays. You'll suddenly and where we are. I mean, I love the Eastern Shore because it reminds me of where I'm from in England. I'm actually from the east coast of England, just east of London, and it's very flat. I mean, when we crossed the bridge for the first time, it felt very much as if I was at home. It's very flat land where I'm from. And the people here who are locals with the accent, believe it or not, I've said this, that I can determine where they were from originally, the locals, met hundreds of years back, because I will hear certain words that sound exactly from where I'm from in Norfolk and Norwich, East Anglia, that coast. So, but no, when we first came over here, I loved the fact, I felt very much at home. I loved the fact that I was by ocean, water, I love being by the water. And the fact that you are surrounded by major cities. I mean, it's the best of both worlds. You can get your city fix, you can cross the bridge, say goodbye to it, and come home. So, and we get to live in a great house, I have to tell you. I know everybody says there's a ghost, but I have not seen the ghost. It feels, if it's a ghost at the Hinson Ringgold house, it's a friendly ghost, I think. So.